How are you feeling, Caleb, mate? You good?
Feeling great, man. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. Thank you for coming on the show today, pal.
Oh, yeah, man. Anytime.
How have you been feeling, mate? Can we go back to the Brad Kelly fight and how you felt before that fight in the camp and how you felt in there?
Man, I battled some demons getting ready for that fight. Ended up building the fight up a lot more in my head than what it actually needed to be.
Yeah,
And but I'm kind of glad that happened because I mean Brad Kelly's one of the toughest guys that you'll fight in bare knuckle. I mean, the guy has no problem getting hit to get hit. I mean to give hits. Um, so I knew that I had to shut him down quick. And I kind of changed game plans in the back with my corners, and I basically told him I was like, I'm throwing everything at him right out the gate. There's not we're not going to take a round to figure him out. Where sheer overwhelming force is the game plan tonight, and they were behind me 100%, and because I knew that if I let Brad build into his fight game, that he was going to be there for a while, so I had to put him out early.
yeah, definitely. He's a great fighter, Brad. And with you, Caleb, is it because I speak to a lot of fighters and they say they'll have a game plan through the camp, but once they're in there throwing bombs, the game plan just goes out the window. Are you a fighter like that?
I used to be. Now that's kind of like my trump card is that if all else fails, I can stand with the best of them and know that I'm not going down. I mean, in 10 bare knuckle fights, my knees touched the canvas once. And that was against Jim Allers. Um, I my coaches do a really good job of game planning for the particular opponents that I have, which is why I don't like last minute
Yeah.
changes. I don't like last minute fights. You know, respect to any fighter that is willing to step up on a week's notice. Sometimes you got to do that, but I don't like to do that unless it's just a big opportunity. I like to have a plan, and then like I said, you know, if that plan goes out the window or something bad happens or something changes, I'm not scared to just go back to what's tried and true and just stand there and bang with the best of them.
Yeah, class. And what's been happening since the Brad Kelly win? Like, are you always staying in the gym, or do you only hit the gym really when you're in a camp?
No, I'm well. I own part of the gym that I train at, so I'm always there. But it's switching between roles of being the fighter and now being the
Cool.
co-owner and one of the coaches, and you know, trying to make sure some of my younger guys that have got jiu-jitsu tournaments. We got a guy that's boxing in a couple of weeks. Um, you know, trying to make sure that they're getting what they need. Um, and then, of course, me and my coach, Dustin, we always just make a little bit of time on the weekends to where we just get up there and whether we're sparring, drilling, or doing whatever, we're just kind of having some fun. I never truly get out of a camp. My cardio may suffer for a little while and I may eat bad, but I'm always training, always doing rounds of some form or another. And this kind of just happened upon me at the right time.
Yeah. So when did the call come for the UK? Have you known for a while that there was a possibility of you coming over here?
Possibility. So it all happened in about a week. I got a call from my manager basically saying that this fight might be on the table. Would I be interested? Because apparently nobody over there wants to fight Rico. So I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but sure, I'll fight him. Um, and so they were like, okay, well, we're going to offer your name. So they offered my name. They came back and they said, or I was told that this fight, if they accepted, you know, that I accepted the fight and they were able to make it happen, it probably wouldn't happen until sometime in August.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So, because I had been planning on, I was already in the beginnings of a camp because I was going to be fighting July 21st in Biloxi,
Right.
which is not far from where I live. And so then I got a text the next day that says the fight's officially been offered to you to fight Rico July 1st. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's 8 weeks from today. So I've known about it. We're still there's still some things up in the air but hopefully everything falls into place and this fight goes. It's just a great opportunity, all around.
Yeah, and has fighting in the UK been something that you've wanted to do, sort of on your bucket list, or have you never really been interested in coming over here?
Oh no, ever since I was a kid, man. I grew up on the King Arthur, the legends and the stories, and I'm pretty sure about 80% of all like fairy tales have to do with London and England. So it's like it's always been something. England, Ireland, and Australia. Those are the three places I want to go. And I've always said ever since I was a young fighter that the only way I'm going to get to travel the world is if I fight over there. And so this is a great opportunity. I mean, obviously, as a fighter, I want to fight the best. Rico, I've watched film on him. He's proven to be one of the best guys coming up right now in BKFC. I know he's got a lot of experience fighting with BKB, fighting with legends like Jimmy Sweeney. So I mean, I know he's coming for a fight, and so I want that fight. I want this trip. But at the same time, I got to make sure that, this is also a business. This is how I make my livelihood. This is how I earn money to pay my bills. So I have to make sure that I'm getting what I'm worth to go over there and fight.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And are you traveling over here and going to have a few days after or before the fight to have a look around and things?
I'm hoping so, man. It really is going to kind of depend on BKFC and if I can. I don't mind paying for my hotel after the fight to stay a few days because, man, that's an opportunity like no other. My wife, I'm buying her a plane ticket to make sure that she's there because I want her to get to see some of the beautiful places that England has.
Yeah, of course, mate. It'd be great. Obviously, if you can get the few days to have a look about and that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm hoping I get out of this trip. I'm hoping that it's not a you fight on Saturday and you fly out Sunday morning type deal.
Yeah, and I know you're not one for looking at fighters and things, because I know you don't really watch the BKFC unless it's a major fight or something, do you?
Pretty much.
But what's your thoughts? I'm presuming you've seen Rico Franco now in some of his fights. What's your thoughts of him as a fighter and opponent?
He's tough. He's got very good footwork. I think I'm going to touch him a lot more than he expects. He's fought some good guys. I'm not going to take that away from him. And I mean no offense to this, but he's never fought an American like me. So when he stands toe to toe with me and I'm not interested in just standing there and seeing which one of us can take the harder punch. This is going to be a very good boxing match. It's just going to be a very violent boxing match. You're going to see blood. You're going to see me and him both cut. But at the end of the day, you're going to see my hand raised.
Quality. And how does it feel to still be in the mix, mate, at the top of the divisions? And because I know you've been in this from the beginning, the BKFC. I've watched you come all the way through and you've had plenty of bouts now and you're still there in the mix with all the big names.
Well, and that's kind of thing. This is home for me. You're never going to see me outside the top 5. Really, you're not going to ever see me outside the top 3. Their rankings are a little questionable in my opinion at times. But at the end of the day, the only people I've lost to have been by split decisions, and twice was against the guy that was the 165-pound champ, and the other 2 was my very first fight in BKFC almost 4 years ago, and against a guy that had finished everybody. I took all 5 rounds to a majority win. So, I mean, I'm always going to be here. No, my face is a face that every 165-pound fighter better get used to, because eventually they're going to be standing across from it.
Yeah. And in 2019, when you got knocked out of the year, and the video went viral, didn't it? It got millions of views.
Man.
How did it feel in that fight, mate? Like that punch, as soon as you connected that punch, did you just know it was a nasty knockout?
So I had been fighting for 8 years at that point, between MMA and everything. I'd beaten guys every way possible. I had submitted them. I had won by decision. I had, TKO stoppages from the ref. I've had a guy yell to the ref to stop the fight. I never got my knockout. And so going into the Vistante fight, I told one of my teammates, JJ, before the fight, he thinks he knows what it's like to fight bare knuckle. I'm going to pin him to the floor with his own fear. And I went out there, and as the punches started landing, I started noticing that he was dropping easier. The punches were just slicing through him. First round ends, I go back to my corner, and I look at my coaches, Johnny and Dustin, and I told them, I was like, I'm knocking him out in the second round. And no one else knew that, but I had told some buddies of mine about 4 weeks before the fight, because I'd never been one to predict how I would win, because I was always scared that would jinx me. But I told them, I was like, guys, I'm finished. I'm knocking this dude out. I'm getting my first KO by the second round. And they're like, okay, man, we're going to hold you to it. And I really didn't go out there intending for that to happen. That was just mostly me talking mess with my guys. But then after the third time he went down in the first round, I went to my corner and I told him, I was like, I'm finishing this. He's going to sleep. And they were like, we know, go do it. And I dropped him within like the first 15 seconds of the second round. He got back up one last time, and I heard the ref say, if you go down again, I'm stopping the fight. And when I connected with the right hand, Bill Clancy didn't even need to wait for him to touch the floor. He saw that the guy was knocked out, and he was rushing to try to stop the fight.
Yeah, it was a brutal. It's probably the heaviest knockout I've seen in the BKFC to date, mate. 100%. And obviously, when it happened, it must have been a mint feeling, like the next day, to see all the views and all the attention you were getting for the knockout, because you do deserve it. Obviously, what you do, it's very hard sport and it's brutal, mate. So it must have been a good feeling to finally, like, yeah, I'm getting recognised type of thing.
It was weird, man. The dream was to be the big fighter, the star. But I don't know. There's still a part of me that still just knows that I'm just a small town kid. Like, I grew up in I graduated a class of 42 students. I mean, my entire town that I grew up in is probably about a mile or, all around. So when that happened, my phone just, I couldn't even respond to everybody. It was just blowing up. And now I joke and I tell everybody, yeah, I'm a one-hit wonder. You don't really hear about me. But the truth of the matter is that every one of my fights, for the most part, is going to end in a KO. Like, yeah. I'm either knocking the dude out or we're going to a decision that's probably not on my end. I've had 6 wins and only one of them has went all 5 rounds for a decision. And that was a unanimous decision against a guy that had over 200 boxing fights. So he knew how to survive the rounds. But it's been a wild roller coaster ride these last 4 years with BKFC.
Yeah, it's been quality, mate. And what's your predictions for BKFC in Newcastle? Does it go the distance or are you getting the knockout?
Rico Franco is going to bring a war, but it's going to be over with by the 4th round. He's going to be on the canvas by the 4th round.
Yeah, it's going to be a mint night, mate. I've seen the card the other day and it's stacked. It's going to be some wars on the card, like. And before we wrap it up, Kaleb, is there any shout-outs, sponsors or anything you want to give a big up to?
Yeah, I want to give a shout-out to my sponsors, Downrange Lifestyle, Knockout Canada, my management, Smith Brothers, my sponsors, Hidden Leaf Beauty. It's one of my students' personal business, doing nails and everything. They do a great job. My mom has went to them before. I've got tons of friends that have gone to them. 21 Machinery, because I know they're going to end up sponsoring me for this fight. They've always been big supporters. And most importantly, I just want to give a shout out to my friends, family, and my wife. every one of them knows the stress and the going ons behind the scenes that this fight is putting on me, and they're all constantly encouraging me and pushing me forward. So I have no doubt that when I step over to England, I'm going to show y'all a proper fight.
Yeah, classmate, and hopefully on the 1st of July, I can grab an interview off you at the event.
For sure, man.
Great stuff, mate. Really appreciate you coming on, Kaleb, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, pal.
You too, brother.
See you later, mate. Yes, people, nice one for tuning in there. Much appreciated as always. I'm going to put Kaleb's social medias in the description, so don't forget to head over there and give the lad a follow. He's going to be headlining the BKFC Newcastle on the 1st of July show against Rico Franco. What a fight it's going to be. Don't forget, mate, download the BKFC